All right, guys, we are back with another episode in our USPSA series. Now, if you haven't checked out the other videos in our series, I would highly encourage you to go do that. But this video is going to be how to train for your first match. And so this is kind of the last step before we actually get to that actual live match footage. And today we're basically going to be going over a couple of different things. So number one, I'm going to go over safety. Basically, how to not get DQ'd or disqualified at your first match. No one wants to have that experience. Trust me. So we're going to go over some range commands, things you need to know when you show up so you can kind of speak the same language as everybody else at the match. And then we're also going to go over some basic stage planning. So we've actually got a stage set up that Justin and I set up here at his range. And so we're going to kind of walk through it. There's a bunch of different ways to shoot this, which I'm really excited about, and kind of give you guys an idea of how you might want to approach a stage at a match. And then, of course, you'll get some actual, stage walkthroughs and stage planning from when we actually go and shoot the match coming up here. So first, we want to thank our sponsors, the first of which is Blue Alpha. Both Justin and I have been using Blue Alpha products since the beginning. In fact, the Hybrid EDC belt was the first dedicated concealed carry belt that I ever tried. It really changed the way I concealed carry. And both Justin and I have been using their battle belts for a very long time as well. Today, we're actually using the Battle Belt Lite, which is a newer product from Blue Alpha, and thrilled to be able to use that kind of in this USPSA setting. If you guys are looking for Blue Alpha products, we really appreciate you guys using our link. We'll leave the link down in the description. Blue Alpha set us up with an affiliate link. And if you use that, it really helps us out and helps us make content like this for you guys. We also have to thank Jello Shots Ammo for being a sponsor of the channel. Guys, this is seriously some of the lowest recoiling ammunition I've ever shot, and it's specifically designed for USPSA and performance shooting. So this is going to come in at a very low power factor, which is perfect for USPSA, and it's going to help you shoot, honestly, really, really fast. The first time I shot this stuff, I was seriously blown away. So if you guys are looking to pick some up, make sure you check out his website. We'll have that linked in the description, and we can't thank Angelo and his whole crew enough for their support. So the first thing we want to cover is safety. Breaking a safety rule at a match is the easiest way to get DQ'd, and if we follow some pretty basic rules, we'll be just fine. We won't have to worry about that at all. Now, we are going to essentially approach this stage like I am here at the match. I've already gunned up, and we're actually going to go through the procedure for properly gunning up, transporting your firearms to and from the range, things like that in the next video. But for this, let's just pretend I'm here on the stage and I've done everything correctly up to this point. So a couple of big things that we want to highlight. So number one, we don't want to handle our gun at all before the RO or the range officer tells me that I can. All right, so with this stage here, and we're going to get into stage planning here in a second, but let's say that this is my starting position for the stage, and I'm the next shooter, so I'm walking up to the stage. I'm going to come right up to this, this point right here, and I'm going to be kind of getting ready to start, all right? When I come up to the start position, the first thing the RO is going to tell me is make ready, all right? Make ready is the correct command. A lot of times they'll say something else like loaded make ready or shooter make ready, something like that. But if you hear the words make ready, that is the cue that you can actually go ahead and unholster your gun and draw it out. I always check for a clear chamber first, make sure, obviously there's nothing, there should be nothing in the chamber, but I'm always going to do that pretty much out of habit. And then I'm going to kind of go through that first step of my visualization process. Now, this is the time for me to actually load my gun and be ready to start the stage, all right? So, presuming the stage is allowing you to start with a loaded, holstered handgun, this is where I'm going to go ahead and load the gun, all right? So, I am loading, kind of topping off my mag like that, press check, make sure it's all good, and then I'm reholstering my gun, all right? During this make ready time, which you have a few minutes to do this, you are more than welcome to handle your firearm as much as you want, right? You can even touch the trigger, right? So my finger is in the trigger guard right now, kind of getting a sight picture, right? However, I would be very careful that the gun does not go off, because if you fire a shot before the timer goes off, that is a DQable offense. All right, so I'm just kind of checking my dot brightness, which the sun's coming out here a little bit, so I'm going to bump that up, check my dot brightness, kind of figuring out what this first initial lean is going to look like, and essentially just making sure that I'm in the right headspace to shoot the match. That is all encapsulated under the term make ready. All right, so at this point, my gun's loaded. I hopefully have a stage plan of some sort. and I'm ready to start shooting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assume the start position. All right, and I know we haven't covered this yet, but we're just going to say this is the start position, heels on the rear fault line and wrists below belt. And so Justin is going to RO me on this, and he's essentially waiting to see when do I actually assume the correct start position. So clearly, if my wrists are supposed to be below the belt, if my hand's on my gun, then that is not the correct start position. So if my hand's on my gun, the RO generally safely assumes that I'm not ready to go, and I may be still thinking things through or visualizing. Once I do assume the correct start position, Justin is going to give me a couple of different commands. So the first one he's going to say is, "Are you ready?" All right, which may seem a little redundant because we just went through a whole make ready process, but he's just verifying that I'm actually ready to go. If for some reason I was not ready to start, I would simply say no. Okay, so let's say, I start to drop my hand, and then maybe I see something out of the corner of my eye, and Justin says, "Are you ready?" I'll say, "Nope." All right, and then he's just going to wait, and I'm going to get my head back, right, make sure whatever distraction it was is not important, and kind of refocus, all right? If I am ready to go, I can either say yes, I can nod, or say nothing at all. So I generally like to say nothing at all. I'm just thinking about my first target, and I'm just kind of right here. Justin gives me the "Are you ready?" command. "Are you ready?" If I say nothing, then that's going to cue him in to say "stand by." And after the standby, I could expect the beep to come between 1 and 4 seconds after the standby command. This is what that whole process looks like. "Are you ready?" "Stand by." And I would begin shooting right there. And man, I really wanted to pull the trigger. That was a dead center alpha. All right, so that is pretty much it for the whole start sequence, right? Walking up to the stage, the biggest thing to remember though is make sure you do not get your gun out of the holster until the RO gives you that make ready command. If you're not sure that you heard it, turn around and verify with him before you draw the holster. Go through your whole load procedure, get the gun holstered, and then assume your ready position or your start position. At that point, "Are you ready?" Stand by, beep, and we're off to the races. All right, so now let's just pretend that we've successfully shot the stage and we are finished. So, pop, 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 pop. All right, I'm done. Okay, pop, 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 pop. Okay, that's the last target I'm going to shoot, and I'm done shooting. Okay, so at this point, there's a few different commands the RO is going to give me, and it's very important to listen to these commands and do them correctly in the right order. So the first thing he's going to say here is, "If you are finished, unload and show clear." All right, he's not saying unload and show clear because potentially there are still things that you needed to do, because I have literally seen some shooters shoot the target and maybe they ended where most shooters would end on that stage, and then forget, oh, there was this whole other target that I need to shoot, and they're going to run back and get something that maybe they forgot. So the RO is always going to say, if you're finished, unload, show clear. You don't have to be finished, but generally you are. So if you're finished, unload, show clear. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm simply going to drop my magazine out, which, oh, that's a little stiff. Drop my magazine out. Okay, I'm going to stick that on my belt or just in a pocket, and then I'm going to show clear. So this is just going to be racking the round out of the slide, okay? And I like to lock the slide to the rear, or you can simply hold the slide to the rear. All right. From there, the RO is supposed to visually inspect my chamber and say, if clear, hammer down, holster. So if clear, hammer down. I'm going to send the slide home. I'm going to keep the muzzle pointed in a safe direction, very important. I'm going to pull the trigger so the striker actually goes forward. If clear, hammer down, holster. And I'm going to go ahead and holster without flagging myself or anybody else. And that is it. So, just one more time. Oh. Pop, 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 pop. All right, I'm done. The RO says, if you're finished, unload, show clear. Get rid of that magazine. Rack the round out. I hold it open for the RO to inspect. All right, if you're finished, unload, show clear. If clear, hammer down and holster. Pull the trigger and safely holster the firearm. And that is it. From there, they'll say range is clear, and then we'll proceed with a scoring, and at that point, everybody can walk down range. That is pretty much it for the general range commands. Now, there are a couple ones that I want to highlight. Let's say, and this we're going to get into all of this, right? But let's say I am kind of moving and shooting or reloading and shooting, okay? So let's say I'm shooting over here, all right? And then I'm going to shoot these targets right here, and I'm going to move and shoot, right? As long as I'm aiming down my sights at a specific target, I am welcome to move with my finger in the trigger, even if I'm not ready to shoot yet, all right? However, if I am simply running from here to here, and my finger's in the trigger, and I'm clearly not aiming down the gun, that is a big no-no, all right? So that's going to get you DQ'd. You're not allowed to move with your finger in the trigger, or on the trigger, or inside the trigger guard, unless you're actually aiming down the gun. So if I wanted to do that, I would make sure that the gun is up in front of me and I'm moving, pop, 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 and I'm shooting. From here, I'm going to maybe run a farther distance. So I'm going to make sure I pop my finger out of the trigger guard and then I'm going to move, all right? Along with movement on the stage is something called the 180 rule. This is very, very easy to understand. So if you guys see back here, we've got this rear fault line, okay? The stage is pretty much this direction, okay? So there are no targets behind kind of this rear fault line. Generally, the rear fault line is parallel with the back berm, okay? So it can be dependent on either the back berm or the rear fault line, depending, okay? The thing that I don't want to do is ever let my muzzle cross the 180-degree line. So if this is 180 degrees right here, I would never allow my muzzle to go to the 180 or past it. Technically, right on the 180 is still allowed, but generally the ROs will call you on that. So I don't want to get even close to breaking the 180. So as I swing my gun over, for whatever reason, this right here would be really sketchy because I am directly in line with that 180. So if I was going to be moving this direction and have my muzzle pointed generally this way, I would just make sure it was pointed in, right? I'm running over, running over, running over. There's my target, right? And at this point, right, I'm not breaking or even close to that 180-degree rule. The other thing is going to be when I reload, okay? So let's say as a right-handed shooter, I'm reloading, moving right to left. Let's say I shoot these, pop, 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 and then I turn this way to reload the gun, all right? Because of the way my wrist angle turns, Justin, can you see how my muzzle is? Right, here is the fault line, and that muzzle is pointed directly back up range, right? So even though it looked really good shooting through here, reloading through here, and then turning my muzzle, at that point I already broke the 180 and it's too late for me. So that's gonna be a DQ by the RO. 180s, pretty important. So anytime I'm stage planning and deciding kind of how I'm gonna move and where I'm gonna reload, I'm gonna keep that in consideration. The last command that you need to know is stop. Now, stop is very self-explanatory. You need to stop what you're doing and take further commands from the RO. So where this would come into play is with, you know, maybe let's say you broke the 180 or you did something that was unsafe, or maybe range equipment fell down or someone was downrange, something like that. You need to stop and take all further commands from the RO. So this has actually happened to me. I actually believe it was on a 180. So let's use the same example of reloading, going right to left, where I break the 180 like this. All right, so I'm breaking the 180, I reload my gun, and the RO says stop. Okay, at this point, I'm literally going to freeze. Okay, I'm going to take directions from him, and he's going to say unload and show clear. He's not going to give me an option of if you are finished. He's just going to say unload and show clear, or at least he should. So I'm just going to go ahead and, all right, and I'm just going to unload the gun. He'll say if clear, hammer down, holster. And then I'll be like, what happened, right? But I don't want to kind of argue with him until all of that is done and the gun is unloaded and it's cleared, it's back in the holster. At that point, they'll explain why they had you stop. Maybe there's someone downrange, maybe some equipment fell over or whatever it is. But if you do break the 180 or, you know, DQ yourself somehow, you're going to hear that stop command. So don't freak out, just obey what they have to say and follow their instructions and you will be fine. So the next thing you need to know about is stage planning, and we want to just cover stage planning at a very basic level. Even as a masterclass level shooter, I still struggle with stage planning. I think it's one of my kind of biggest flaws when it comes to shooting this game. But one of the biggest things we see is people being really stressed out about stage planning, and really you can boil it down and make it much simpler. If you do that, everything is going to be much more digestible. So the first thing we want to cover is where are all the targets, okay? So if you just approach this stage and you're just looking at where are the targets, where are the fault lines, it can get really overwhelming. So for instance, if I come over here to this left side of the stage, and let's say the start position is heels touching rear fault line, but it doesn't specify where on the fault line it is. So I could be standing here, it could literally be anywhere on this whole rear fault line. If I come over and stand on this corner, I can actually see a lot of targets from here. So I can see 1 paper, 2 paper, 3 paper, 4 paper, a steel, 5 paper, 6 papers, and a steel target from here. If I come over to the middle, you know, there's a couple different places I could stand. I could stand, let's see, right over here. I can see 1 paper, I can see 3 head boxes, 2 papers kind of peeking out. If I lean, I can see another paper. And then over here, I've got another paper. So I've got a lot of options here as well. If I come over to the right, oh man, there's a bunch of options over here also. Paper, 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 2 paper kind of hiding behind the barrel, but I can see them, so technically I could shoot them. And a paper over here. So I'm getting a lot of options kind of all over, and it can be a little overwhelming. So how do we kind of work through this? Number one, you've got to identify how many targets there are. So the way that I do this is I get outside of the fault lines and I walk around the stage and figure out where everything is. So I'd walk all the way out here. Everybody is usually kind of walking in the stage, figuring it out. I'm going to come all the way out to the outside. I'm going to walk the perimeter. I'm going to go, okay, so I've got a paper there. Go 1. What's this target stand? This one has 2, so 1, 2, 3. Over here, 4, this shorty. 5 with a no shoot. Oh, we got some papers hiding here kind of behind the barrels. So 5, 6, 7. I've got 3 low targets, 8, 9, and 10. 11, 12, 1 steel, so 12 paper and a steel. 13 and 14. All right, and I'm kind of looking around making sure I didn't miss any. All right, so I kind of get my bearings again. All right, so there's 14 targets from what I could tell. All right, so that's going to help me a lot. Now, the other thing is, where do I have to go to shoot these targets? So we call these forced shooting positions. Well, over here you guys can see, if you get right over my shoulder, you can kind of see that this short little target right here can pretty much only be taken from right here on the corner, okay? And what I will do is to determine that is I go, okay, I think I can only take it from the corner, but could I possibly take it from anywhere else? And so I'm trying to see if there's any way I could shoot it from here, which I can see like the delta is kind of right edge of it right here. That's definitely not a good enough shot. I want to shoot alphas. So that's not really a possibility. If I come down range, is there a possibility for me to shoot it? No, these barrels are blocking it, right? So I can't really get to it there. So yeah, that position over there seems to be a forced shooting position, which means that I have to go to that spot in order to get that target. So this seems like a good spot to shoot that target as well as any others I see from this position. So what I'll kind of do is I'll start with that target. I'll go, okay, I'm going to shoot that one. That target right next to it with the angled no shoot on it, that also seems like a good option. And then this target kind of wide to the right also seems like a good option. So let's go 1, 2, and 3 targets right here. All right. Kind of breaking this down some more, I can already tell that those 3 targets down there, because they're blocked by barrels, are targets that I'm going to want to go up and kind of get a little bit closer to. So that's going to be a forced shooting position. So now I have 2 forced shooting positions. And I'm just going to kind of check over here on the other side of the wall. Generally, if there's a wall like this with some sort of lean, that's going to be a forced shooting position. And so I come over here and I see 1, 2, 3, 4 papers and a steel. All right, that steel target is concerning because it's right next to that barrel. So can I see that steel target from anywhere else? If I come over here, I can see those first 2 papers on either side of this barrel. If I come down into here and kind of lean out, I can see those 2 papers, that stack. I can also see them kind of through here between these 2 barrels, but at no point do I get another shot at that steel. It's completely hidden from everywhere on the stage. So I go, all right, so I've got to hit that steel from that position. So now I've identified 3 forced shooting positions. The far right, okay, the far left, and all the way at the end. So I know I've got to go to those spots. So let's see how many targets I can shoot from those positions. So we already identified, if I come over here, I get, let's see, 1, 2, and 3 targets. All right, when I come over to this side, I get 4, 5, 6, 7, and the steel. Over here, I get 8, 9. Okay, so this seems to be a shooting position, but they're really close targets, so I might just try to take these on the move. All right, these 2 targets here, I've got to be here, okay? The only other targets that are left are that double stack right there and kind of those 3 wise men low. So essentially, I've got to go far right, far left, and then at some point, I've got to get this double stack here, that double stack there, and the last 3. So from here you can kind of draw a plan up, right? I'm a right-handed shooter. I like to generally shoot left to right. However, I think it makes a lot of sense because if I come over here and shoot all these targets and I turn around, this target is available right here. So I think I might as well start on the right side, shoot those 3, come over here, 4, 5, 6, 7, steel, 8, 9, all right? And then simply run up all the way up to here. These targets are presenting themselves. If I'm good, I'll shoot it on the move. If not, I will simply maybe come up to about right here, shoot those 2 targets, and then from here, I actually have a clear view of the A zone of each of those targets over the barrel. So I don't really have to get all the way up over the barrel. I can pretty much stay back here, shoot these 3 and that stack, and that should do it. So pretty much get away with only like 3 positions on this, and I think that would probably be a good option if you are new to shooting stages. So what do you say, Justin? Should we go ahead and shoot it that way? All right, so what we'll do is I will have Justin record and I will shoot. So he'll essentially RO and film. He's talented that way. He could do both things, and then I'll shoot it, and then we'll go around and score it. All right, so now we're pretty much going to run this how it would be at a match, okay? So the start position is going to be, officially, heels touching rear fault line, handgun loaded and holstered, wrists below belt. All right, pretty straightforward. Now, I have a couple of options. We've already identified 3, 4 shooting positions, 1, 2, and 3. So I've got to essentially decide where I want to start. Justin brought up a good point, kind of off camera. Where am I going to do my reload, which I didn't talk about. So let's throw that in. So I typically like to reload as a right-handed shooter moving left to right so that I avoid the whole 180 trap as I move right to left. Now, can you reload going kind of to your offside like that? Absolutely. It's actually not very difficult. But if it's something that is going to confuse you or kind of trip you up, I would recommend maybe just trying to avoid it if it's easy to avoid. So what I'm going to do is, Justin even asked, why don't I even start over here on the right? If I started on the right, here's the issue I run into. So, paper, 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 steel, paper, paper. I would run over here. Paper, paper, paper. And then from here, I would be reloading, kind of going right to left. I don't really like that. At that point, how many rounds have I shot? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 17, and 19. So my mags actually hold, well, these actually hold more, but most people's mags hold 23. Mine hold 25. So 19 rounds expended is a pretty good spot for me to reload. I've used most of my mag. And then from the back, running all the way up to the front is kind of a longer movement. So I'm going to prefer to start over here and go 2, 4, 6, right? Because each paper requires 2, steel require 1. 2, 4, 6 rounds. All right. I'm going to keep my muzzle down range. 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And then from here, I'm simply going to reload. I'm going to book it down here all the way. And 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Just like that. All right. And so my last mag that I reload to, I'll only expend 10 rounds from that. Presuming I have no makeup shots, we'll be good to go. All right. We'll also say that this stage is Comstock. Okay. So Comstock versus Virginia count. means Comstock you can take makeup shots, Virginia count you can't. So this is Comstock, I can take as many makeup shots as I want, but hopefully I'll have all good hits and I won't have to do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and come over to my start position and I'm gonna let Justin RO me from here.
Make ready.
I like to get a practice draw and kind of see my dot on the first targets. I'm going to visualize the order that I'm going to shoot everything in. Reload. All right. Really important to get your visualizations in, all right? Because essentially I'm memorizing the order that I'm gonna do this in and when I'm gonna do my reload. So I just visualized the whole stage. I'm gonna visualize it one more time, then you guys will see me assume the proper start position. All right.
Are you ready? Stand by. Shooter, if you are finished, unload and show clear. If clear, hammer down, holster. Range is clear. That was a 2017.
All right, cool. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and score it up. Now, generally the RO would score it, but Justin's running the camera, so I will go ahead and do it. We're gonna have to probably get a closer look at these targets. So this one, 2 Alpha, this one, that's an Alpha Charlie, and an Alpha Charlie, okay? Coming over here, looks like we've got 2 Charlie, 2 Alpha. Let's check out this one over here. Sorry, that one has 2 Alpha as well. Come over here. That is, looks like 2 Alpha, but that's a fly. So Alpha Charlie. All right, this little shorty guy over here, we've got Alpha Charlie. And then behind here, we've got 2 Alpha. And that one's cutting the perf. So if it's cutting the perf or touching it, that's gonna count. So that's 2 Alpha up here, 2 Alpha down there. We'll come right through here. Got 2 Alpha on this target. Let's see, the line is here. That's gonna be Alpha Charlie. 2 Alpha and 2 Alpha. All right, and so we got the steel as well. So that is going to be a time of 20.17. Let's see, we have 7 Charlies, 22 Alphas. That is going to be a 6.49 hit factor. So there you go. Generally, the RO will have you approve the score. You guys will see that when we're actually at the match. And that's pretty much it. All that's left is the paste, and it's the next shooter.
All right, guys. So I'm going to shoot this stage. Brennan, you guys saw Brennan shoot it. Pretty conservative, pretty controlled. Now we're gonna shoot this kind of at our level, right, and how we would approach it. So I'm a left-handed shooter. It's gonna introduce a little bit of differences, but not much. So what I'm gonna do with this stage, I'm gonna start off here with the steel. I'm gonna take all 4 of these paper in this target array. I'm gonna start on this double stack right here, and I'm gonna take those on the move as I come over here. And then I'm gonna take these 3 in this target array on the right side. That'll leave me this wide open area to do a reload. And then with this double stack right here, I'm gonna take those on the move. And then by the time I'm done shooting those, I'll be right where I need to be to take these last 3 targets in the last target array. So you heard Brennan talking a little bit about the forced positions. And where you really start to see this executed at a high level is when you blend all of this stuff all together. So we're gonna go ahead and run it. I'm gonna run it opposite of Brennan. I'm gonna start on the left side. kind of for the same reason. I don't want to have to reload going from left to right if I don't have to. So here we go. I'm going to wait for Brennan to give me all of the range commands, and we'll go from there.
Make ready.
So I go ahead, lock the slide to the rear, put my mag in, drop the slide, I press check, make sure that my gun's not going to go click when I want it to go bang, get good initial sight picture, and now is my time to visualize, and this is the most important part of my make ready. So what I do is I close my eyes and I picture myself first person shooter with my dot in the A zone of every single target. Going through my stage plan. Exactly how I want to run it. Okay, I visualized it. I've already done my walkthrough, so this is not the first time I visualized it, but this is the final time I visualized it before I execute. Here we go.
Are you ready? Stand by. Whoa.
Okay. So
If you're finished, unload and show clear. If clear, hammer down and holster. Time 1538.
okay. So you saw me kind of fumble there, kind of slipped on some of the gravel. Let's go ahead and score these up. Got the steel, had to make up on the steel, unfortunately. We got Alpha Charlie here, Alpha Charlie on that target right there, 2 Alpha on that target there. This one's tight. Ooh, that's not so good. So because that broke the perf of this no shoot, that's going to be considered a no shoot. But it's also, you can see the perf. I'm sorry, not the perf. The grease ring is also in the alpha zone right there, so that's going to be considered 2 alpha, but it's also going to be considered a no shoot. And then we have another 2 alpha right there. 2 alpha right here. We have 2 Charlie right here. Nice good group there. We've got 2 alpha up top here. We've got, that's breaking the perf, so that's a 2 alpha right there. We've got Alpha Charlie. We've got 2 alpha. We've got 2 alpha, 2 alpha, and 2 alpha. Okay, so that's going to be a total hit factor of 8.13. So you can kind of see, right? I ran that at the level of speed and aggression that I would at a normal match. And you can see, taking those 2, that kind of cost me a little bit with that no shoot. I thought I called it not breaking that perf, but it was, and that really killed my hit factor. So we're going to bring it over to Brennan and see what he can do. Are you ready? Stand by. If you're finished, unload and show clear. If clear, hammer down, holster. Range is clear. 1625.
So, alpha, 2 alpha, just barely. It was a little bit too much of a rush, kind of was dragging my gun across. That's going to be Charlie, Alpha Charlie no shoot. So it's just kind of like Justin's, it was touching the alpha and the no shoot. So it is going to score as an Alpha Charlie no shoot. This one, 2 alpha. This double stack over here, Alpha Charlie and 2 Charlie. So this one kind of brought in my dot low, ended up sending the shot. Alpha Delta there. Alpha Delta. That is going to be an Alpha, that's 2 alpha. Alpha Charlie and Alpha Charlie. Hit the steel. And then the 3 on the bottom, 2 alpha, 2 alpha, and 2 alpha. 2 alpha and 2 alpha on the double stack here. So let's see, put that in, 1625 was the time. So it's gonna be 22 alpha, 6 Charlies, 1 delta, 1 no shoot. So obviously the no shoot and the delta, not great. That was a hit factor of a 7.3 though. So significantly better than the first run where we're not blending any positions. And I even hit a no shoot. So I know without the no shoot, that probably would have gone up a whole nother hit factor point. So just a few notes from myself: execute better, be a little bit more patient, see my dot where it needs to be. Just take a fraction of a second to correct my dot when I need to. Those are easy fixes. So 7.32 for the hit factor on that. Let's go ahead now and switch it up. We're going to switch the starting position up, maybe almost run it in reverse so that we've got kind of some different problems to solve. Running up range, so kind of this retreating movement, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. Make ready. Are you ready? Stand by. If you're finished, unload, show clear. If clear, hammer down and holster. Time is 17:25.
All right, Alpha Charlie. We got 2 Charlie. We got Alpha Charlie. We got Alpha Charlie. 2 Alpha. We got Alpha Charlie. Alpha Charlie. We've got 2 Alpha, 2 Alpha, 2 Alpha. 2 Alpha. Alpha Charlie. We've got 2 Charlie. And then we've got 2 Alpha. All right, so we had a 17.25, we had 10 Charlie, and 19 Alpha for a 7.25 hit factor. Make ready. Are you ready? Stand by. Shooter, if you're finished, unload and show clear. If clear, hammer down, holster. Range is clear. 18.33.
All right, Charlie Delta there. We've got an Alpha Delta there. 2 Alpha. That's a Charlie. Alpha Charlie, Alpha Charlie. 2 Alpha and 2 Charlie. Man, me and the drag offs today. Alpha Delta. Let's see, Alpha Delta, 2 Alpha, 2 Alpha. Got the steal. 2 Alpha, 2 Alpha. Alpha Charlie, Alpha Charlie. All right, so that was a time of 18.33. That's going to give me a hit factor of 6.49. All right, guys, so hopefully that was helpful for you and you were able to see kind of Justin and I do things differently. We're both masterclass level shooters, but we're approaching things differently. Of course, he's left-handed, I'm right-handed. There's that difference. But hopefully you guys can see there's not just one right way to run the stage, but there are better ways than others. And so, of course, we're going to measure that based off of hit factor, which is taking into account time and your accuracy. And of course, you know, that's why we're so big on shooting USPSA matches and testing yourself in environments like this with stages and matches. So if you guys have any questions about what you saw in this video or anything that you want to see in future videos, be sure to leave that in the comments down below. And until next time, keep practicing and shooting, and we'll see you on the range.